we're never going to see eye to eye with everything in college football. Like, your opinion on who should be number one is completely different than mine. Like, who you think should win the Heisman Trophy is completely different than mine. But let me ask you, be real for a second. Who is the best one-loss team in the country? If you're brand new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. I talk NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, but I love talking college football. And is this the type of content you enjoy? This is the channel made for you. So hit the subscribe button down below. Tell me who you think is the best one-loss team in the country. Tell your friends, your family, your sister, your brothers, really everybody about this channel. Because if we get to 1,000 subscribers by next Wednesday, 7 more days, I'll shave my head live on air. I mean it. 3 live shows a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. You don't want to miss out on the action, so make sure you hit subscribe. And let's talk college football. By the way, mustache right here, Movember. I don't have a sponsorship. I don't have a partnership. I just like bringing awareness to men's suicide rates, testicular cancer, and prostate cancer, which is rapidly growing, not just in the United States, but also globally. If you would like to help out, donate, be a part of the solution, go ahead and visit Movember.com or go ahead and click on the link in my bio down below. There are 6 one-loss teams that actually have an argument of making the college football playoff. Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Penn State, Louisville. Every one of those teams has an argument. I think we all can agree, simply based off of head-to-head matchups right now, Louisville's not getting in, Penn State's not getting in unless they win this weekend, and Ole Miss is not getting in unless they win this weekend. So now we're left with 3 teams. These 3 teams actually have a viable argument when it comes to winning the number 1 spot in the one-loss teams. That's the way that I view this. I think Texas has the most impressive win. I agree with Greg McElroy. McElroy last night was on ESPN College Football. He was doing the show, and he was saying that Texas belongs in the number 6 spot primarily due to having the best win. And they do. You don't lose at Bryant-Denny Stadium if you're Alabama. It doesn't happen. It never happens. In fact, if you look at the history of Saban, it's happened 7 times. And the last time was 2019 against a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback in Joe Burrow, a roster that's filled with now NFL level caliber talent. And by the way, it was a close call, 45-41. Like, that's the level of margin of error you're allowed to have when you walk into Bryant-Denny. And on that day, Joe Burrow was better. Same thing. Jalen Milroe was still finding his way through Tommy Rees's offense. The run game was asinine to say the least outside the red zone. The wide receiver play was hit and miss. You could only win on vertical throws down the field. And ultimately, Texas capitalized. They took advantage of Quinn Ewers and Adonai Mitchell being a great pairing. The big passage to Tavion Sanders to set up a Jonathan Brooks run. All of that and much, much more helped Texas get a 10-point win. You don't lose in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So you have to give credit where credit's due to Texas. I think Oregon has the best loss because Washington has yet to lose a game. Yes, they have played close against Stanford. Yes, they played close against USC. And yes, they nearly lost to Arizona State. But at the same time, they're undefeated. And more importantly, they have a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback in Michael Penix. They have an offense that features 3 future NFL superstars at wide receiver. Oh, and Dylan Johnson basically got Alex Grinch fired. No, he did. Like that is the reason that Alex Grinch was fired. Because Dylan Johnson decided to go ahead and say, we can run the football. I'm going to go for over 204 bills. That's what I'm going to do. Oregon also has, in my opinion, the most impressive culture win. Because much like when you talk about Alabama, Utah does not lose at Rice-Eccles Stadium. They don't. And that was a Utah team that was feeling prepared. That was a Utah team that was well equipped to hold its own. They were coming off of an emotional but dire win against USC. And basically Oregon said, shut up. We're going to do whatever the hell we want. Move out of our way. Take your L. Go back home. That's what happened. Salt Lake City features one of the best coaches in college football and one of the best game schemers in college football. And Dan Lanning in year 2 said, this is what happens in the SEC. I'm going to show you why I mean business. And he did. 30-6 win. And it was methodical. Bucky Irving had a good day. You saw the way that Bo Nix kind of played his way back into the Heisman Trophy conversation. They have the most impressive culture win. And then we just look straight up at the way teams are playing right now. And I think Alabama trumps both Oregon and Texas, just based off the way they're playing. The second that Tommy Rees and Nick Saban sat down after the South Florida game and said, we have one option. It's number 4. That has to be our starting quarterback, and we have to build an offense that caters to him. The second they made that move, Alabama started looking like Alabama, where they dismantled opponents. They allowed games to stay somewhat relevant, but eventually they found their rhythm and nobody was able to slow them down. They were able to go ahead and play exceptional defense, which is a huge testament to Kevin Steele. And I remember a lot of Alabama fans, primarily a couple of my buddies, saying this is going to be the hire that ends up doing Alabama in. It hasn't. It hasn't. Kevin Steele in the second half of games has been phenomenal. The way that he's been able to minimize mistakes and capitalize on first half failures and turn them into second half successes, that's a testament to him. Between Mississippi State, LSU, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss, Alabama's defense has allowed 20 points in the second half. They have outscored their opponents by nearly double the margin. That's where you are with Alabama. And the quarterback is playing up to his level. And the wide receivers, you know what you're able to work with. And what's really interesting is that you go back and you say, well, Jermaine Burton finds a way to get open against Texas A&M, 3 touchdowns. Cool. He didn't score and he didn't do anything against LSU. Instead, you saw Isaiah Bond do stuff, and you saw Amari Nick Black do stuff, and you saw all these other receivers take that step forward. So now you're able to win with running backs like Jace McClellan and Rodell Williams, but also Jalen Milroe. And you're able to throw the football down the field to where you can't double team one player. It's not going to work. Once the bond is built, that's a team that has an identity, a purpose, and knows how to win. And that's Alabama. You adapt or die underneath Nick Saban, and Saban refuses to die. There's never going to be a nail in the coffin. So based off the way that I'm watching right now, Alabama's played like the most impressive team. Texas hasn't. And I'm not going to falter and say, well, good for them to be able to go ahead and get victories without Quinn Ewers. If you believe that Malik Murphy is as talented as a quarterback as he is, and your defense is as stout as it is, there's no reason you should be playing in overtime against Kansas State. That's the problem that I have. It's not that I think that right now when you talk about Texas, they're a team that's finding ways to capitalize and secure victories because they are. But why are you in that position? Why? You can't just blame, oh, well, we have a backup quarterback. No, because you have 2 running backs that were able to go Super Saiyan in the first half against Kansas State. Your defense allowed the Wildcats to stay in it and not in the ground game, an area where I thought, okay, this is where Kansas State will find a way to show weakness in Texas. No, they won through the air. You watch as Will Howard threw 3 touchdown passes. They didn't run it. Avery Johnson was immobile in the game. This is why Texas, in my opinion, does not belong in that number 1 spot when it comes to the rankings. In fact, I can make an argument the way that they're playing right now, they're probably 8th. But unfortunately, the way the schedule says that they are, they're not. They actually have the most the most wins against teams with above 500 records. They do. Alabama can't say that. Oregon can't say that. And Oregon, they have 1 impressive win and 1 impressive loss. But how would I rank this personally? In my opinion, I'd go Alabama at 6. I know that if we're doing just straight up head-to-head matchups, Alabama's not 6. Alabama's at best 8. They are. But if you're talking about the way that they're playing right now, and you give me a neutral site location, these 2 teams go spit-swapping action. I'm taking Jalen Milroe. I'm taking this defense against Bo Nix. I'm taking it against Malik Murphy. I'm taking it against Quinn Ewers in a rematch. I don't care. Alabama is playing its best version of football right now, and that's the reason I would put them in my spot at number 6. I would put Oregon at number 7. I would. I think Oregon is the most dangerous team in college football if you allow them to be. I think that they have a great rushing attack. They have an offensive line built like the Big Ten. They have linebackers and running backs built like the SEC. They have wide receivers and skilled players built like the Pac-12. They're a Frankenstein monster that isn't slowing down. And if you were to go ahead and play a rematch against Washington, I bet they win that game. In fact, if you play it 10 times, I bet Washington wins 7. Oregon wins 7. So I would take Oregon at number 7. And Texas, I'd take at number 8. I like Texas. I think Texas is a good opponent. I think Texas has done its job. And it's great to see that finally when we talk about Texas, they find ways to secure wins. Because every single year, all we ever mentioned was how Texas found a way to mess it up, how Texas found a way to shoot itself in the foot, and how Texas is not BACKNOPE. They're nowhere near close. That's what we've talked about with Texas our entire time. But again, you're still finding ways to keep it close. Alabama's pulling away. Oregon pulls away. Oregon handles business against everybody. Alabama does too. So I'd put Texas at number 8. That would be my opinion. But I also think that Texas does have the most impressive win. I think Oregon has the most impressive loss. And I think Alabama's playing its best football right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. But I do think that if I was to be a voter, just looking at who I'd want in the CFP, strictly based off of on-field play, Alabama would be the first call, Oregon would be the second call, and Texas would be number 3. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.